As 2020 comes to an end, it's a good time to look back and take stock. This will direct areas of focus and decision-making for 2021. While the COVID-19 pandemic overwhelmed the world in 2020, security challenge also dominated discourse in Nigeria, from the ranking of the country as the third most impacted country by terrorism to the many reports of kidnapping, banditry, and 30 minutes is just not enough to capture all of that, but special report would highlight some of those issues bordering on insecurity in the country in the year 2020. You're welcome. I'm Ini John Mekwa. The record for 2020 shows that total deaths from terror attacks in Nigeria fell to 1,245, a 39% decrease from prior year. So also is the terror-related incidents, which fell by 27%, marking the lowest level of terrorist violence in the country since 2011. Boko Haram, the country's deadliest terrorist group, recorded an increase in terrorist activity, mainly targeted at civilians, by 25% from the prior year. Additionally, Fulani extremists were responsible for 26% of terror-related deaths in the country at 325 fatalities. All this has placed the country as the third country most impacted by terrorism. On the 6th of January, there was the Gumburu bombing, where at least 32 persons were killed and over 35 injured when an IED exploded on a crowded bridge in Gumburu, Borno State. And on the 16th, a bit of good news, as 3 aid workers and other civilians who were kidnapped on December 22, 2019 in northeast Nigeria were released by an unspecified militant group. 2 days later, which is the 18th of January, there was an attack on a United Nations facility housing several aid groups in Borno State. At least 20 internally displaced persons waiting for assistance at the facility were killed. 5 days later, suspected insurgents kidnapped and killed the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Adamawa State, Reverend Lawan Andimi, after he was declared missing on the 2nd of January. On the 9th of February, at least 30 civilians were killed and many more abducted by militants in Borno State. The 4th of March saw 4 police officers and 2 militiamen killed by Boko Haram militants during a raid on an army base in Damboa, still in Borno State. Reprieve on the 6th of April, when the multinational joint task force attacked Boko Haram in the Lake Chad region, killing 19 terrorists. In May, an operation launched by Nigeria killed 134 militants in northeast Nigeria since it began on the 1st of May. In June, there was an attack by ISWAP on a herding village in Borno State. That left at least 81 people dead, 7 persons and over 1,200 cattle abducted and the village destroyed. 13th of the same June, ISWAP conducted 2 attacks in Mungunu and Ngazai areas of Borno State, killing at least 20 soldiers in the first location and 40 civilians in the second location. Hundreds of civilians were wounded. Many buildings were touched in the violence. In July the 22nd, 5 aid workers were executed by armed men who had kidnapped them in Borno State. 28th of November, there was a story which still breaks hearts when the country woke up to the gruesome killing of some farmers. Number of victims still in contention. There were rice farmers who were temporarily relocated for harvest. Another headliner was on the 11th of December when over 300 schoolboys were kidnapped in Kankara in Katsina State. Thankfully, they were later released, a feat which the army is very proud of. As they say, it is the first time an operation of that magnitude will be carried out without any loss of lives. However, to pastor and security consultant Ladi Thompson, the circumstances surrounding the release gives cause for worry.
The fact that they were found and even the confusion and the conflicting stories on how they were returned, when you look at it and analyze the situation, actually makes matters worse. Because on one hand, we have a report that says they just went, there was no negotiation, we spoke to them, and the boys were just returned. There's another account that is coming and somebody is saying, no, it was the former terrorists who have been rehabilitated, who were useful in contacting those who were out there, who facilitated the return. And of course, there are those who are saying, look, can you pull the other leg? It has bells on it. That obviously there was some exchange of finances for this.
And in December, even more insecurity incidents. 35 people were kidnapped and 1 person was killed along the Maiduguri-Damaturu highway. 3 vehicles were also set on fire, 9 other vehicles abandoned along the road. On the 20th, 5 soldiers were killed when Boko Haram fired an RPG at a vehicle in convoy, and 2 other vehicles were captured by Boko Haram in the same attack. During this period, the governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, had been attacked 3 times. These considerations led to the 2020 Global Terrorism Index classification that 5 countries, Nigeria included, are in a state of war.
You are dealing with a war form that has a warhead in politics, it has a warhead in education, it has a warhead in infiltrating your governance structures, it has a warhead that attacks your culture, it has a warhead, in fact, it's hydra-headed. So the point is, if you think you can win on only one, that's why the response can never be just military. No, 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 no. It has a head in media. It's well invested in media. So you are dealing with something that collapses nations from within. And the earlier we wake up, the better. Because as far as I'm concerned, after the horse has left the stable, now that the train has left the station, unlike before, when I was one of the advocates saying that they don't need to change the security chiefs, I think I've changed my mind now, looking at what is on ground, because I expected that from the last time the president spoke to them, between that last time and now, they should have put in some structures, expanded the board, brought in a lot more intelligence that is multilateral and multidimensional to make sure that the Nigerian feels safe.
Like Mr. Thompson, many Nigerians have been calling for the sack of the security chiefs. The Chief of Defense Staff, Major Abayomi Olonishakin, Lieutenant General Tukur Bautari is the Chief of Army Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar is the Chief of Air Staff of the Nigerian Air Force, and the current Chief of Naval Staff is Ibok Ekwe Ibas. They've been at the fore of fighting insecurity in the country since July 2015.
Are we saying that it's because of the service chiefs, that because we have not changed the service chiefs, that lives are being lost? Let us be very careful. Let us be very careful there. Because it's the same military tactics.
A former army officer whose father retired from the army as well as his brother shares some insight that he thinks may be ongoing and placing the country at a disadvantage in the battle against terror.
Let me give you a practical scenario. My younger brother spent 4 years and some months in Maiduguri during the time of Boko Haram. Now, within these 4 years, he was shot by Boko Haram in 2014, sometime November, December. Thank God he survived that gunshot. His legs were badly damaged by Boko Haram. Now, after that, he went for treatment, he was treated, and he went back to the front line and spent extra 3 years after being shot. That means he spent 4 years to engage the enemy. This is an intentional, operational sabotage from the Nigerian army. The battle begins from the mind. Let me know when I'm coming back home. Let me know how I'm going to engage the enemy. Boko Haram can never be powerful than the Nigerian army. My father was a soldier. My father served the Nigerian army for 37 years. My elder brother was a soldier. I was a soldier. My younger brother was a soldier. In a family, we have 4 soldiers. And if anything happens in Nigeria, I'm prepared to die for this country. I'm not going nowhere. Nigeria belongs to us. There is no Nigerian soldier in this country that is scared of Boko Haram. But the reason why they are scared is because they don't know when they are going back home. When you don't know the time of your return, you are not going to put your best, because when it comes to the battlefield, there's a time to fight and there's a time to retreat.
The consequences of these attacks on human lives, properties and livelihood have far-reaching effects. In the case of the farmers killed in Zabamari in Borno State, their harvest was also burned, denying the country of hundreds of kilos of rice. In many other instances, farmers have abandoned their farms. Many have fled their locations just to stay alive. The worrying threat of food security is on many minds and lips.
How many farmers are going to the farms? In some cases, farmer will be asked ransom for him to get to the farm and get what he has farmed. Market market should be 100% at all the time. Either festive period or not festive period, we usually have a lot of goods coming from different places from the north. But at this particular time, it's just 30%. This is more serious than COVID-19. If there's anything more serious that government should take action on, is this. What government promised us: one, security, employment, and in fairness to you and I, me, Sheikh Usman, the chairman of this market, for instance, I don't know the language I will use. I just don't know which language I will interpret to my people here in the market that the rice they are selling at the rate of 7,000 naira 3-4 years ago now is 20,000 naira. How do you want me to translate that to them? Speak your English anywhere, but me, I don't know how I can interpret that to them.
The humanitarian situation seems to have also deteriorated as the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees puts the number of displaced persons at over 3.4 million people, including over 2.7 million internally displaced persons in the northeastern part, over 684,000 IDPs in Cameroon, Chad and Niger, and 294,000 refugees in 4 countries. Getting aid to these individuals in need has also been a challenge.
I must tell you that access has improved over the years. From 2014, when the humanitarian community had no access to the affected population. But now we have a situation where we have access to a large number of the populations in northeast Nigeria, thanks to the military, the ongoing military effort. We have to be precise about that. But we still have enclaves that we are not able to access as international aid workers. And we have an estimated 800,000 people that we cannot reach. We only see these people when they leave these enclaves. And what we see is acute levels of vulnerabilities. Children acutely malnourished. There are well over 5,233 aid workers working with international non-governmental organizations in northeast Nigeria alone, of which 94% of that are Nigerians. Only 6% are international. So that has been my advocacy, that Nigerians can do this, and I'm happy Nigerians are doing it and Nigerians are taking it over. And my hope is to really hand this over to Nigerians so that they can continue these noble undertakings.
Terrorist attacks is not the only security challenge that has bedeviled the country in the year 2020. Incidents of kidnapping, armed robbery and banditry were recorded not just in the northern parts of the country, but also in the southern parts. Former Finance Minister and Secretary to the government, Tolu Falaye, who was kidnapped in 2015, had his farm destroyed in November. He said invaders destroyed and harvested crops worth millions of naira. At some point, traveling by road along the Zone 11 of the police command in the southwest geopolitical zone, which comprises of Ondo, Osun and Oyo State, was dreaded by many because of reports of kidnapping and armed robbery.
We have identified the locations. There's no doubt about it. We have spoken to those that were affected. We have recorded the location. We have been able to identify some areas where they are the real flashpoints, the hilltop of their settlement before they come out of the road.
Nigeria made global headlines in October It started as youths protesting police brutality under the EndSARS hashtag. The group was speaking against the many alleged brutality which officers of the now defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad (SARS) had meted out on especially youths in different states of the Federation. Their demands were immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families, setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reported police misconduct within a period of 10 days, carrying out psychological evaluation and retaining of all disbanded SARS operatives before they can be deployed. The government should also increase police salary and they should adequately compensate them for protecting lives and property of the citizens. The federal government announced that it had accepted and would work on the demands, but this did not get the youths off the streets. Gradually, news of infiltration of the protests started surfacing with records of violence. But the event of the 20th of October at Lekki Toll Plaza in Lagos heralded the protest. The involvement of the army and what transpired has been interrogated by the Special Judiciary Panel, which is one of the responses of the government to the EndSARS protests. Even with sketchy details of what really transpired that night, Nigerians and the world remain dissatisfied with the handling of the incident.
Now, one of the training I received when I was in the army, you don't have the right to cock your gun. When you cock your gun as a soldier, the Nigerian army, I'm not talking about any other army, the Nigerian army will get you dismissed. That discipline is there. That's what we call fire discipline. Sometimes, even there was a time, during the Bakassi Peninsula, in 1999, I was in the front line. I spent 6 months in 1999 in the front line. I never cocked my gun because there was no aggression, there was no attack. You only cock your gun when there's an aggression, when there's an attack that puts your life at risk. But if your life is not at risk, there is no reason for you to cock your gun.
There's been several attempts to deal with the security challenge. One has been through regional security. Western Nigeria Security Network, codenamed Operation Amotekun, is a security outfit based in all the 6 states of the southwestern parts of the country. The outfit was formed in January to curb insecurity in the geopolitical zone.
We cannot predict the exactitude of where this unfortunate disturbance will take place. Hence, we felt that a combined effort of all of us will be very necessary. It will save us from all this banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, armed robbery, harassment and farmers' conflict, clashes for ritual killings, and cybercrime. The current situation in the country demands pragmatic and proactive solutions.
What is happening is that the Yoruba people, led by their governors, the elected leaders of their states, are stepping forward to give a higher level of protection to the Yoruba people in their farms and their homes.
Sir, the parade is ready. May I have your permission to get the parade, sir?
Then came Shege Kafasa in February. This was formed by the coalition of northern groups. According to the group, Shege Kasafa is designed to be the vanguard of the entire North, encompassing every ethnic group and religion, and to be deeply patriotic in its operation.
The outfit, codenamed Shege Kafasa, is designed to be the vanguard of the entire North, encompassing every ethnic group and religion, and to be deeply patriotic in its operation. 3. In addition to performing general complementary tasks for enhancing security in the region, the outfit shall also A. Coordinate operations against the influx of hard drugs into the North. B. Take steps to neutralize all centers of gravity for the supply, manufacture, and distribution of such drugs and other dangerous substances. C. Coordinate vigilance to check and expose illegal arms trade, supply channels, and possession.
In the southeast, the governors met to discuss plans to follow suit, all in an attempt to complement the efforts of the centralized Nigeria police. In their case, there's no special outfit created. Instead, it's the activation of community policing.
Community policing committees made up of traditional rulers, community leaders, town union leaders, religious leaders, etc. within the locality will be charged with the responsibility of selecting and recruiting community policing officers that will work within the communities. The governors of states within the geopolitical zone to reinforce and provide improved capacity for the police and other security agencies in their respective states in support of the community policing program.
This approach of regional security outfit had had views supporting and objecting to its effectiveness and possibly deepening division along tribal lines in the country. Some Nigerians like Mr. Saje thinks that the solution to making the country safe lies in getting the sponsors of insurgents.
We need to look at the sponsorship of these guys. Terrorism is a very expensive business. You can't venture into terrorism without spending more. A lot of billions are being spent on terrorism. What are the sponsors? But yeah, our military are busy going about killing the ground troops, killing the fighters. That's not what we need. We need to get hold of the conflict entrepreneurs. We need to get hold of the conflict distributors. Who are those sponsoring these people? Who are those bringing in billions? And that is where our banking system, the central bank, needs to also play a role. You know, sometime last month, the CBN went and shut down some EndSARS sponsors. You have that powers and that methodology to shut down these people. Then go into the dark network, you know, because for you to smuggle in money, you have to place in the money, then you move the money, then you have to integrate the money. So they need to look into placement, layering, and integration. That's on the side of CBN. So that we need to know who are the people sponsoring terrorism.
Mr. Thompson asks that attention be given to the psychological aspect of the insecurity challenge, which may presently be ongoing.
Now, what people don't realize is that you are dealing with a war form that is going after the hearts of your citizen. So if your nation doesn't have a creed with narratives that holds the hearts of your citizen, it's a matter of time before some parts of the country begin to realize that, look, we are better off with these terrorists than with the rest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Why? They will play a religious card. If you ask people like me right now, in Kano State, for instance, right now, we need to begin to do a lot of opinion molding, consensus building to find out from Kano State whether they really love to be in the depths of their hearts. Do you really want to be part of a federated structure of Nigeria? Or would you rather be a part of an emirate? You see, whether I say it or not, the question is hanging over Kano State. Go to Kano State, live there for a week or two. Now, what does that mean? If Nigeria does not reprogram itself to have the kind of federation that can accommodate extremes from the religious liberties and the democratic absolute rights of maybe Rivers State, and also the predilection of Kano State for a religious community, then the end is in sight. It's so obvious. It's just a matter of time. So it devolves on leadership right now that if you want to retain the title of leadership and be respected as leadership, if history is going to be very kind and friendly to your leadership position, you need to be ahead of all these things and take care, because there are no vacuums in life.
The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has asked Nigerians to give security agencies more time to fight insurgency, while he affirms his commitment. In his words, under my watch, the federal government will continue to provide the needed support within available resources to the gallant members of our armed forces and security agencies as they confront threats to our citizens. Many ideas have been shared. The turning point would be the actualization of at least some of those workable ideas to solve the insecurity challenge in the year 2021. We pray that it would be a better year for us all. Channels Television wishes you a safe and a healthy 2021. I'm Ini John Mekwa.